What is up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of FitBizU. I'm your host, Jill Coleman, and today we are getting down to the wire. I want to let you guys know, if you're listening to this in real time, that we are opening the doors for FBA, which is my signature beginner to business course for waitlisters very soon. So if you have not added yourself to the waitlist, we're getting down to the wire. Make sure you get on that waitlist. Go to jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. That's jillfitfree.com/FBA-waitlist. Okay, so today we are going to talk about something that is going to come up for you at every level of business, whether you're a beginner, intermediate, advanced, super advanced, whatever it is. And by the way, this happens to me all the time. And I want to talk about problems in your business. One of my favorite quotes from Grant Cardone was, "Take enough massive action to earn yourself new problems." Take enough massive action to earn yourself new problems. And I love this because the idea behind it is there's going to be problems at every level of business, no matter what level you're at. And one of the things that I always tell my beginner students, especially my FBA students, is that a lot of times the biggest problems that you have at the beginning of building your business, a lot of times it's more mindset based. It's like, am I good enough? Can I really get people results? How do I know? I'm not really confident. I don't really feel comfortable putting myself out there. People are going to judge me. They're going to reject me, whatever it is. And so mindset issues tend to be the biggest quote unquote problems at the beginning. And then you sort of get used to overcoming some of that stuff. You sort of thicken up your skin a little bit. You start really getting into the more business building side of things, the strategy, the nuts and bolts, the what to be doing. And at that point, a lot of times your problems just become like marketing and sales issues. Like, okay, now I kind of have ripped off the Band-Aid. I'm consistently doing what I need to do. I'm posting on social media. I have my email list building. I'm doing all of the right things. Now, how can I just become a better business owner? How can I, solve the marketing and sales equations? How can I solve these puzzles? And sort of we start getting into strategy. Now, some of the bigger sort of problems, or the next level of problems as your business begins to grow, is probably scaling. Getting to the point where maybe you're maxed out on your one-on-one coaching, which is why I love the idea of taking enough massive action to earn yourself new problems. Because wouldn't that be such a great problem to just have a one-on-one coaching roster that was absolutely just filled up to the brim, to the point where you cannot take any more clients? It's funny because I have some of my students are like, I just can't take any more one-on-ones. I'm so exhausted. I'm so overwhelmed. And I'm like, that's a good problem, because now you have options, don't you? And that for me was getting to that point in my business. We were about 18 months into JillFit, and I had 5 coaches that were working underneath me, and myself and all 5 coaches were completely maxed out on our one-on-one coaching. And again, looking back, it was obviously a great problem to have, but it was a problem, right? Like, how do I go to the next phase, or how do I leverage my time better? And at that point, that was when I invested in my biggest coaching investment up until that point, which is a $10,000 investment. Money I didn't have, by the way. But I was able to, I didn't even have a credit card that went up to a $10,000 limit, but I was able to actually launch a program to be able to make that money for sort of like a proactive funding sort of situation, where I was able to actually make the money to then be able to pay someone to help me leverage this business model. Of course, that's, why you get a coach, and is to help you solve the problems. And I love this concept of defining for yourself what problems are. And one of the biggest things I see, one of the biggest hangups I see with my students, is this idea that it should feel good all the time, or that it should be smooth sailing all the time. And I think that's your first issue, right? The idea that things should be easy, or that they should be linear or predictable. And like anything in business, or in anything really, we think, okay, what's the roadmap? Or, if I just follow these 10 steps, surely I'll get the result. Now, when it comes to business, of course, there are best practices, but at the end of the day, there are so many variables, especially with personal branding. So 2 people might say the exact same thing, have the exact same message. One person might take off and the other person may not. And a lot of that comes down to what energy you're bringing, how you show up in the space, what your messaging is, how it's landing for your people, all that kind of stuff. And so when we think about problems, the first thing to remember is that there always are going to be problems. And to me, there's utility here. So the saying goes that pain gets us to pay attention, right? Pain gets us to pay attention. So for me, I go, why isn't this working? And another one of my favorite quotes is from Ryan Blair. You guys might have heard me use this before, which is, the path is all math. The path is all math. And he tells a story about being a young CEO of a supplement company. And he was just really struggling with management, and he was really struggling with company culture, and some things were going wrong in the business. And he would get completely emotionally hijacked every single time something would happen, right? Maybe inventory or sales, marketing, something wasn't going right, as things do. And he would get really emotionally hijacked and like so upset. And what he came to realize was he wasn't able to make rational decisions in the business when he was in that very high emotion headspace. This makes sense, right? Like all of us, especially, I'm sure you've been in an argument before, something like that, and we don't always say what we mean, and we don't always have the clearest head when we're doing that. And so as a business owner, if I can remember the path is all math, essentially it's like, cool, there's always a solution. I just might not know it yet. And I actually personally take a lot of solace in that. I go, you know what? I don't have the answer, but I know that it's out there somewhere. There's evidence that people are being successful in this space. So for me, I just look at it like a puzzle. You guys have heard me say this. This is one of my favorite mantras, which I can see it as a pain or I can see it as a puzzle. And for me, that's all a problem is. A problem is a puzzle. And so I don't have to know the answer right now. I just need to trust that I have the resourcefulness to go find the answer. And I take a lot of solace in knowing that the answer is out there. It's in a course, it's in a book, it's with a coach, it's on a podcast like this. It's somewhere out there. I just haven't accessed it yet. This is obviously why I'm a huge fan of coaching and mentorship, is because when you learn from people who have already had the lessons that you need, you're essentially buying their lessons. And so when I remember that there will always be problems in the business and that pain gets me to pay attention, I can then go, cool, how do I choose to see this problem? How do I choose to approach this issue? Can I approach with a level head? Even though I don't like it, right? It's never fun. A problem is never fun. You're never like, ooh, I'm so excited I get to solve this problem. Like we always want things to be smooth. But when you get to the realization and you understand that it's never going to be 100% smooth sailing, things are not linear, you're going to have times in your business where things feel super aligned, where you feel like things are just moving along. You're like, yes, this feels amazing. This feels amazing. And then all of a sudden, inevitably, by the way, especially if you're growing your business, inevitably, there's going to be a moment where you start to come up short, or things start to go sideways, or you start to feel maybe a little bit in scarcity. And you're like, am I really good at this? Can I really do this? Or can, and it just ebbs and flows. And I've had many different iterations of that throughout the last 12 years in business, where sometimes I'm just like, God, this is like, everything I touch turns to gold. And other times I'm like, am I even fucking good at this? Like, what am I doing here? And it's my job as the CEO of my company, whether it's just me as a solopreneur or have a team or have people helping me, it's my job to figure out and set the energetic tone that I want to be in. And if I really want to make this a career, I really want to I want to have a long career, I want to be really successful, I want to make a huge impact, I have to figure out a way to approach problems that doesn't sabotage myself or the business. And so if I get extremely emotionally hijacked, if I get, just like everything is so hard all the time, realize that that's going to be not only an emotional drain, but a mental drain. So I don't have as many mental reserves to show up and actually solve the problem, to really be able to look out there and go, cool, okay, I don't love this. It doesn't feel good, but I trust that I have the resourcefulness to find a way. And the good thing about dealing with problems is that over time, you start to really have different options. Like you start to create more options, which means that now I think sometimes it can feel really catastrophic in the beginning when you encounter a problem. So for example, I'll give you guys an example, especially for beginners, especially my FBAers, when they're starting to post consistently on social media as a business owner, not just like a regular person. They're starting to post on social as a creator, as a quote unquote influencer. They sort of maybe get someone in their audience to say something like, what do you mean by that? Or, who do you think you are? Or like maybe there's even that perception that maybe there's a troll or a hater or someone questions your authority. And what I see a lot of beginners doing is that sort of can make them completely just crumble and be like, I knew I wasn't good at this. And they literally just decide to close up shop, like something very small like that. And to me, that's a really fragile way of operating, isn't it? Where like one tiny small thing that in the moment feels really big, by the way, but one tiny small thing can just be like, yep, I knew it. And you close up shop. I want you guys to be a lot more resilient than that. I want you to be what we call anti-fragile, where like, yes, things pop up and you realize that you have the resourcefulness and you have the ability to really figure out what this needs to happen. And the more you see yourself do that, by the way, oh, I worked through this problem, I worked through that problem, I worked through that problem, and I came out on the other side okay. I survived it and I actually grew a thicker skin, or I actually got better, or the business grew as a result of that. And as you start to build that show of evidence that you can handle problems, now problems seem a lot smaller. You're like, oh, okay, this thing again. And so I try to remember that, and this is one of the things my mentor, James Wedmore, says, is he says, and I always remember this, that your business will only grow to the level of problems that you can handle. I'll say it again. Your business can only grow to the level of problems you can handle. And I love this because at the beginning, the problems are relatively small, but they might seem big to you, like they're mindset issues. Like, oh, this person's a hater, or, this other trainer at my gym is talking shit about me, or like whatever. Like these are really kind of small problems, even though in the moment they feel big. But you have to figure out a way to work through those initial problems, because there's going to be other bigger problems that you have to surmount as you grow your business. And to me, I love this idea of, and I heard this originally from Ramit Sethi, who I think you guys follow. It's Ramit on Instagram. Great business guy, financial guy, personal development guy. And he calls it expectation, or failure expectation. This idea that at some point things are going to go sideways. So instead of being like, oh, like this thing happened and it's so bad and it's so scary, go, oh, here it is, right? So it's this idea that there's going to be failure at some point. I can even expect it to come. And when I expect it, I don't welcome it. I'm not like, oh, it's so fun, like working through these problems. But there is something that you can go, okay, here it is. I knew it was coming at some point. And it's not to say like to be negative or to anything, or to like anticipate like, oh, it's going to go bad or going to go south. But if things do happen in the business, I can go, yep, I knew there were going to be problems. So how can I now, the path is all math, how can I now stay clinical and work through that? So really, I would say that one of the most important things, or most critical things to your success, is your energy in how you handle problems in your business. Your energy, do you see them as clinical, or do you take them extremely personal to make it mean something about you? And I think that's something to think about is, do I make this about me? Do I catastrophize? It could be one small, customer service issue where someone wanted a refund for something. And then you can spiral into thinking and making it about the fact that you're not good and you shouldn't be doing this. And, who do you think you are? And all this kind of stuff, when it was really just one person that, just didn't have the time or energy to do the program right now. And so try to keep the main thing, because as soon as you start catastrophizing and making it about 10 other things, that's when you're going to be the most doomed. And that's when you're the most likely to tap out. And I want you guys to have long, like thriving, impactful careers. And so you have to figure out what your relationship to problems is. And I just gave you a whole bunch of examples from some of my mentors and how we do it at JillFit to really stay as clinical as possible. Things happen all the time in the business. We have little mishaps with customer service. We have little tech issues that happen. Like we just have, things that happen in the business. And to me, it's really about walking my walk. So if I'm sitting here, talking on a podcast about staying clinical and objective when things pop up, when they pop up at JillFit, I have to stay the same way. I have to go, cool, what's the solution here? And I will leave you with this one thing, which I think is really important, has made a huge impact for me, which is this kind of common phrase in business, which is sales solve everything. So when I was talking about options earlier, that's what I mean. Sales solve everything. So for example, if you just have to go to work to make enough money to have the resources to then be able to deal with problems, like, so for example, you guys have a couple weeks ago, and this is not in business, but a couple weeks ago, I have an e-bike last year. And it was a gift. And I rode up to Venice Beach with a friend of mine, and we locked our bikes up across the street and we went to eat, and we got done with dinner. My bike was stolen, and it sucks. Like the little chain was clipped and my bike was stolen. And we were able to find some video footage, and it was just basically like someone came by, clipped it real quick, and just went off with it. The whole thing took like 3 seconds. So the idea that we're going to find that, I'm sure, bikes get stolen all the time. It was such a bummer to me, because I was like, this is a $1,500 bike, that I use frequently, like multiple times per week. I live at the beach. I'm constantly on it. And I was bummed, and I was like, but I'm not going to, I can't chase this person down. Like, I don't know what happened. I don't know where they are right now. There wasn't a solution. Of course I can put in a police report and whatever. But I had this moment where I was so bummed, but I was like, but also I can't do anything at this point. Me getting mad and getting on social media and like ranting about it and stuff like that wasn't really going to help anything. And so I ended up just the next couple of days, I ordered a new one. And I feel lucky and privileged that I was able to do that because I have a business that is profitable. And so when I say sales solve everything, when you have the resources to deal with problems, it feels a lot easier. So maybe you just have to take more one-on-one clients for a time to be able to create a little bit of a safe fund or a little bit of a kitty within your business so that if things do happen, you have the resources. So for me, that's a big thing, is how I handle problems is I can afford to invest more money there. And so I think that for me, that is always an option. And so sales solve everything. If I just go to work, even if I have to work like, overtime, or have to just like, do as much as I possibly can on myself, I know at some point I'm going to be able to use that and leverage that. And so more choices also helps you deal with problems because it gives you options, right? It gives you options. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. This is a really important mindset episode because if we can't solve the smaller problems, we're definitely not going to be able to solve the bigger problems. And again, just realizing there's always going to be problems and almost just expecting them, not like, oh, I hope for the worst, but also realizing that when they pop up, okay, yes, here it is. How am I going to choose what energy I bring to this problem? Hopefully that's helpful for you guys. Would love to hear your feedback on this. Send me a DM at JillFit or repost at FitBizU. And we always kind of repost you guys whenever you tag me. Always appreciate the feedback. Thank you guys for being here, and we'll see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.